Good afternoon. We're here too. Well, I guess I got a little close to that, didn't I? If anybody was sleeping, sorry. I no naps today. So, but I'd like to welcome everybody here to our, Henry just told me it's the 48th annual meeting of Washington Red Raspberry. And that's a long time that this entity has been involved in marketing of fruit. So we have quite a lot of things to go through today. So I want to get started. But then with that being said, I'm going to deviate from the agenda just a little bit. We're going to talk about Henry for a couple of moments. He's been with us for 25 years as the executive director, and he's informed the board that he would like to retire sometime in this through the course of the next year. So he's going to definitely stay with us for the next six months through the end of the summer. But he's ready to move along. And so what that entails is both the WRRC board and with the help of the folks in WSDA to formulate a search. Because we're a commission, we go through a search process to find our new executive director. So that's some people probably knew about that he was entertaining that, but that is the way it's going to be. So Henry, I would like you to come up here, please, if you would. Like I said, he's been executive director of WRRC for 25 years. I go back longer than that. He and I were in high school together, and there are plenty of stories that I think might be more entertaining than what comes out of a raspberry meeting, but we probably better save those for a little later. Anyway, that being said, he's done an outstanding job in his job description of executive director. And not only that, but he helped formulate the Ag Water Boards. He's been what would you say, very important in the implementing of water districts. And so between all three of those county entities, Henry's been right at the forefront of that and leading the way for the industry, not only raspberry, but all the commissions that work through the office. So with that ado, Henry, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, and thanks for all the years of dedicated service and good work. Help welcome or help me thank you. So he's going to lead us through the first 6 or 7 slides today and give us a bit of an overview maybe of the last 15, 20 years from his opinion and oversight versus just a 1-year deal. So Henry, thanks,
you. Mark. Take care. All right. Well, thank you, sir. I've got some, and let's move this along. Okay. Which one do we want me to press to move it, guys? Space bar. No space bar. Which one is it? Okay. Not space bar, not arrow key, not enter. It's for, try again, Chris.
Where were you here?
Just second slide then. Yeah, right there. Hit that one. Okay. Yeah, there you go. All right, thank you, sir. Yes, all right. So we get the privilege. I just got to thank you, Mark, but also thank you to the board and really thank you to the industry. I've had delightful time. When I mentioned it's 48 years, this was created in 76 down in Puyallup. That was the heart of the industry back in 76. Things have moved and changed a lot in that time. And I just reflect as 24 years, be 25 next year, half the time I've been involved. So it's been a delight. And you guys have been great to work with and for. And I hope that I'm still at least around to watch you continue to thrive. How about that? So, okay, let's just talk a little bit about what we plan to do today. This is the agenda that we typically have done. We will try to involve our committee chairs to make sure that they're involved in reporting to you what they're working on in their different areas. So Andy will help us on the research report and the plant breeding. Mark is also chair of the, not only of the board, but also of the promotion marketing committee, and he will introduce our marketing team. Brad is in strategic planning and advocacy. That's one of the other three areas that we work. And he's also our treasurer. So Brad will be up here a bit, working through a couple issues, talking to you about, answering questions. And then really the fun part is when we get to give our awards for what we call Industry Service Award. It's been a great experience for us. And this year we will be featuring Rajbath. And I'm sure most of you know who that is, and we'll understand why we're doing it. So that's our plan for the day, okay? This is the current board for you. John and Andy and Mark and Brad and Matt and Danny Gallardi is the representative from the WSDA. That's part of what we are a state entity, state agency, and each commission has a WSDA representative. And then we have a couple of advisory board members as well. Brett Pell was for the last few years, and his brother Clay has taken that over next year. And Joan Yoder has been doing that for us for many years in kind of the food safety area. We are also in the process of rethinking this a little bit because we have a vacancy in seat 4. That's the southwest corner of the state. And there are so few growers down there. We've had that thing has been vacant for too long. So we're thinking about some switches with our WAC, that's a Washington Administrative Code, which we'll work on this next year. And you guys will need to vote on this as growers, what ideas we have to try to enliven the board a little bit, be able to get more people in. So we need to keep circulating some new ideas and new people in there to make sure that we are really representing the industry the way we want. You deserve to be represented, and getting better ideas in rather than just some of the same ones all the time, because we've been recirculating a little too much in our view lately. Let's talk a little bit about production. This is the graph of the last 20 years thereabouts. You'll see that we have not come back to where we were in the early 16, 17, 18, 19. We were up there in the over 70 million pounds production in Washington. We took a big hit in 21 thanks to that heat dome that affected not only 21 but also 22. But we've also had a tough time climbing back up to where we really want to be, back in that 70 million range. We were a little bit down this year, about 5% down at about 55, a little under 55 million pounds. Another graph that's really interesting is the amount of growers. When I started, there were about 165 growers back in about 2000. And you'll see that started tailing off soon thereafter, and that had nothing to do with that. But then it was back up to in about 2011, we were at about 140. But we are down in that neighborhood of under 60 growers in Western Washington now, which is a lot different than it was. So that's over half our growers, about 2/3 of our growers have vanished from the raspberry industry and either moved on to blueberries or something else. It can't be better. Unfortunately, they just did not see a future in raspberries at the time, and we hope we can turn this graph around, at least stabilize it and not be coming down any further. What's going on? These are a couple issues you'll hear from our board members as they do some of their reports. We are working on trade data with a firm, and we'll hear more from Brad in the advocacy side there. The water rights adjudication hangs over all of our berry farmers' minds here. We'll touch on that. We have a strategic plan, which I'll highlight here in a minute. Labor, clearly, we hear that from people. That's one of the top issues right now. The loss of that overtime exemption has been really troubling to try to maintain. How do you operate a farm and still be able to treat all your workers fairly and well, and pay them and still obey the laws? It's makes a lot of sense when you're got a 8 to 5 job that is always an issue that we want to keep high on our list. And Joan, our board member who works on food safety for us, has a March 11 food safety workshop. So there's a sign up over in our booth way on the other end, or else talk to Joan. Where else, Joan, can she? There you are. Talk to her about signing up for that March 11 workshop, which will be another thing to keep you abreast of what's latest in food safety. So make sure to take care of that. All right, this is our strategic plan. It's a 10-year plan written in 21. We talk about our vision for what being one of the best growing regions and growers in the world, to create a positive future for Washington red raspberry growers through the 3 major areas in which we work: research, marketing, and advocacy on your behalf. And then using the core values that really do describe this industry, an industry with a lot of integrity, quality, family-oriented, collaboration with a lot of other berry groups and other berry growing areas, and everything else. Is we work very hard at being collaborative, and I think we've been very good at that. We also have passion for what we do. You'll find that every time we do a video of a person like Raj and some of our other winners in the past, they always talk about their passion for growing fruit, and it's true of all of you. The dedication to do it well and the responsibility to do it fairly and accurately and safely for everyone. Okay, with that said, I am looking for our research chair. Andy, you are on. So you can either go through this research framework, whatever you want, and talk a little bit about what we're doing in research. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Henry. The research chair, I'm going to talk about what we're doing. We have a research framework and a mission to create positive future with Washington red raspberry growers through research, marketing, and advocacy. Some of our top priorities are the develop new cultivars, which you'll see on the budget. That's the majority of our research budget. Crop protection against challenges, insects, diseases, and weeds. And then cultural calibrations, develop labor-saving practices. This is our 24 budget, actual budget, not right. 24 budget. Plant breeding was 61%. We got the raspberry breeding and genetics clone evaluation with Windy and WSU. And then we have the cooperative raspberry testing and cultivar development with Michael Hardigan down in Oregon. And then the land management fees for variety plots. I think last year we made a decision to try to ramp up the trial fields of new varieties and put some money into that, where we're doing larger plots of variety trials. Then we have the regional on-farm trials with the Northwest Berry Foundation, is that, and Tom Walters. And then we have the red raspberry cultivar development with Michael Dossett up in BC. Then we move on to entomology. Last year we had two research projects that were funded. One with two spotted spider mites and red raspberries with Alan Schreiber, and another one with management of snails with Alan Schreiber. Then we had less on the weeds. We had one with Chris Benedict on spot spray technology, and one with Chris and Alan on new technology for products on raspberry and weed management. On physiology, we had one with Lisa DeVetter on determining leaf nutrient sufficiency standards, and one on calcium accumulation and increasing fruit uptake. And then we have pathology and virology, virus testing of the raspberry breeding program with Michael Hardigan, and one with Tom Walters on extending the lifetime of plantings with novel post-plant nematicides. Got a total spend of $259,000 on all of that. And I think some of these guys are talking about their research projects in these meetings today and tomorrow. But we appreciate all the researchers. We've had every year we go through a process starting a couple months ago where we kind of review our priorities that we have for research and ask them for proposals. But we have a really good meeting with the researchers, virtual meeting, that we can kind of talk through what we want to see, and then we have requests for proposals. And I think we're getting some of those proposals in, and we will be looking at them again early in 25 and picking what ones we can do, and hoping we get some more. As you can see on here, we have labor as one of our priorities, labor saving practices, and we've got a couple of proposals on that, but nothing that we were able to fund recently. But we'd like to get more on that, if anybody has any good ideas. With that, I'm going to kind of hand it over to Lisa to talk about the breeding program. Lisa? And the search for the breeder.
All right, thanks, Andy, for that. Okay, marketing guys after me. Got it. So yeah, I'm here to provide an update on the endowed chair raspberry breeding. So thanks again to the Washington Red Raspberry Commission and growers for providing support for this position. Up last year, I was providing an update saying that we were going to start a search in 2024. We did run a search in 2024. We had several candidates that we interviewed, but unfortunately no one that really delivered the excellence that our industry really deserves. So we didn't have a candidate for that particular, or we weren't successful in terms of hiring a position for this upcoming year. So we're going to rerun the search. Thanks also to the Washington Red Raspberry Commission, because they recently approved a new MOU. The new MOU broadens the scope of the applicants that we can recruit for the endowed position. Originally, it was just open to faculty really that were going to be coming in at the associate and full professor level. So opening it up hopefully broadens the pool of applicants that we get. Maybe we'll get some really young applicants that are driven and really committed to excelling in raspberry breeding and cultivar development. So those are just a couple of updates with regards to the position. Where we're at right now is that the position just a few days ago was approved to advertise. So I'm just kind of trying to be that squeaky wheel and get the advertise posted and start sending out invitations to candidates that we think are really promising. If you know of anyone that you think would be suitable for this position or anyone to reach out to, always happy to hear so we can invite them formally to apply and work with this amazing industry and this amazing state and this amazing community of people involved in breeding and cultivar development and release. A couple of people I want to make sure to acknowledge because working on a committee is a lot of work. So I want to acknowledge a few people in this room, committee members Chris Benedict and Wendy Hawashi Erdhart. And then we have two growers on this commission as well. So Brad Radar is on the commission and then Jonathan Mayberry as well. So thank them for their time and effort. If you see them, I certainly feel appreciative and the continued effort. So that's the update for now. I think I'm going to now pass it on to the quote unquote marketing guys. Thanks.
I am the chairman of promotions, and I wanted to just mention that we have 6, 7 people on the promotions committee. We meet probably 6 times a year, and they're really a good group. We have some very intense and healthy conversations with the team members from Wild Hive, and so it's a fun group to be a part of as we're trying to help set direction as to marketing our product. So with us today is Carrie Laskin. She is a team member from Wild Hive. She's actually the vice president of the integrated marketing team. Well, I massacred that, didn't I? That's okay. She understands that. So, but she is here to walk us through the presentation. It's her first time out here to speak with us. So please welcome her and enjoy the presentation. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. I feel like I move away from the mic and sound goes. I'm really excited to be here to talk to you all. We have a really, really exciting year ahead from a marketing standpoint. What I'll take you through is a bit of what we did in the last year and kind of what led up to that and how we anticipate sort of evolving in the coming year. The other thing I want to update you all on is the Emerging Markets Program, the EMP grant work that we did with Vietnam, and what the results are with that. I'm going to ask a favor of you at the end, so get your phones handy because that is coming. So first and foremost, Henry had mentioned the 10-year plan. This is the marketing piece of it. So similar to all of it, our overall goal is to create a positive future for the industry through research, marketing, and advocacy. And our focus really is on driving awareness and education among consumers, among trade audiences, across the industry to really move raspberry product and expand this industry. There's a lot of opportunity. We have a really, really powerful story to tell. We're going to be leaning a lot more into that in the next year. Really quickly, I just want to, for those of you guys that aren't familiar with Wild Hive, I really quickly want to show you who we are. That top row, a lot of you might know Allison Beadle. She's presented here in past years. That's my boss. She's wonderful. She's a member of, she's a leader of our team in partnership with myself and Amber Gray. That makes up your core Wild Hive team. We drive the strategy forward with the promotions committee for raspberries. The team on the second layer, Kim, Leah, and Molly, are subject matter experts that we're going to be tapping over the coming year. Kim has great, industry commodity experience, especially in the trade space. Leah is a chef and a registered dietitian, and Molly herself has worked with other commodities. So we wanted to show you this to show that we have a team of experts that we are tapping as we move along in partnership with the promotions committee. So let me show you where we were in 2024. A bit of context here. The work that we were doing in 2024 really focused on keeping up momentum in some areas of the trade work that we were doing, continuing telling our story to different audiences. So I'm going to play this short video to give you an idea of what we did in the last year. right, so that's a bit of what we did in the past year. You'll see it's a lot of focus on baking trades, telling our story to trade audiences, reaching media through hands-on events, and then extending that to consumers. So what we want to do in FY25 is continue that momentum, but really focus on unlocking new growth opportunities. We know that there's so much appetite to find new doorways that we can walk through with frozen raspberries and telling our story to new people. The way that we're going to do that, our strategic approach really focuses on three big things. One is amplifying our innovation and our leadership, specifically in the farming and processing practices, because we believe that we have a really powerful story to tell that's different from other industries and especially different from other markets. Also identifying and engaging new and existing influential decision makers. New meaning who are the folks that are driving decisions in industries where we can move more product, and existing meaning all those folks that we've gotten to know over the last few years, can we tap those relationships in new ways and continue to grow? And then finally, promote the premium quality and versatility of raspberries, which Washington red raspberries, which is something that we've been doing, but we really want to throw a little bit of fuel on that flame in the coming year. Our priorities are really in three areas. The first is we are working on a beverage grant at the moment. So continuing that momentum with that grant to unlock opportunities in the beverage trade space. So we have a lot of programming built around that in terms of developing new concepts and bringing them to trade audiences. So that's something we'll be working on in this coming year. Raising our profile, so continuing to tell our story, not just to trade media, but to a wider subset of more mainstream media, so we can get a little bit more visibility on the work that's being done in this area. And then unlocking new trade paths. So that's something that we're going to be building out over the next few weeks, going into next year. What does that look like? Where are new sales channel opportunities? And how do we continue to grow that in the coming year? Another sort of area that we're focusing on is foundational impact. So as I mentioned, the beverage grant is something that we're going to continue to be working on over the next 2 years, but submitting for more grants, driving additional revenue streams to help us continue to do more work through various grant programs. Own channels, telling our story in digital and social to make sure that we're reaching the audiences that matter. And then reporting. It's really important that we continue to look at the work that we're doing and optimize as we go, what's working, what's not, and we can only really do that through measurement. So that's a really high level look at FY25. I'm going to go into the Vietnam market assessment now, but I'm happy to answer any questions about our programming after that. So with the Vietnam market assessment, we have been executing an emerging markets program grant, so this EMP grant that looked at potential opportunities for us in Vietnam. We know that markets in Asia have a lot of opportunity for growth for us, and we wanted to spotlight specifically Vietnam with this grant to see what drivers are there and what barriers and opportunities exist. So I'll go through a little bit of the high level findings. We partnered with agribusiness experts at Texas A&M to do this study. They met with various emissaries and experts from Vietnam to help put together a report that we have since assessed and summarized here. So at a very high level, the global export landscape. So ignore the title of the chart. It's a little confusing. It's actually referring to exports too. But this chart essentially tells us, who are the major importers for frozen raspberries. The one caveat I'll say is that because of the way they track data, raspberries are grouped with blackberries in this, but our understanding is that raspberries make up the majority of what's being imported. But generally speaking, the raspberry and blackberry import markets, the primary market really is Germany. And they're the ones, comparatively to other markets that are bringing in the most. Overall, we are seeing a bit of a decline. While about 20% of the frozen raspberry imports went to Germany in the last year, collectively, there's been a bit of a decrease of about 107,000 metric tons, generally speaking, in terms of global export. So there's a shift happening in the market, and we're trying to sort of understand collectively at a global level what that means. But from a Vietnam standpoint, what's really interesting about that market is Vietnam's GDP per capita is growing about 7% annually, but their population is remaining steady. What that basically tells us is that people are making and or spending more money. that their consumer economy is looking pretty healthy. It's growing. And the agricultural imports in the last 10 years have really focused heavily on consumer-oriented products. So there's this opportunity in the market right now where consumers are spending more and they're also importing more consumer products. So we think that now is a really interesting opportunity with Vietnam. The key buyer insights that they found in this assessment, what's basically driving purchase in Vietnam? The major driver is cost. Even though the consumer economy, relatively speaking, there is good, collectively, consumers are a lot more cost conscious in Vietnam than compared to some other countries. All other things equal, taste comes second. So no big surprises there. The berry landscape overall, that includes all berries, is growing by about 10% annually. So that's an interesting observation from the assessment. And that the consumer need here in terms of how they want to use and how they want to consume berries is really about educating on usage. So unlike some other markets where frozen berries are commonly known, commonly used, there's a lot of opportunity for education of it's more than just a smoothie. There are lots of other ways that you can use frozen berries. So that's a need that was identified in the assessment. But the current usage landscape is mostly in the sort of smoothie mix and fruit puree space. That's really what's driving a lot of the growth there. It's often sold direct to consumers at restaurants and at smoothie shops, or it's packed for bakeries and juice shops by co-packers. The current consumer audience, this is what's really interesting, is that the two biggest consumer types that they identified when they looked at the Vietnam market was foreign customers with established taste preference for frozen berries, which makes sense when when the consumer need is about education. If the folks that are mainly consuming frozen berries are accustomed to it from other market behaviors, then we know that there's an opportunity to educate locals more because there is a secondary audience of health conscious, particularly younger consumers that are ripe for the plucking here. So that's a really interesting opportunity there. So very quickly on the Vietnam berry imports and general industry landscape. So there is an uptick in the last 2 years or so on Vietnam berry imports. A lot of that is driven by strawberries, but you see the sort of the little yellow line at the top, which is raspberries. It's small at the moment, but we do think that there's an opportunity to capture more of the market share. The top exporters to Vietnam specifically are China. Globally, we know the top exporters are mainly Poland and Serbia in the sort of number 1 and 2 spots. But when it comes to Vietnam, they're getting most of their berries from China. And I'll get to why that is on the next slide. But generally speaking, the market is growing at about a 10% rate. So there's room and there's opportunity. And you'll see that the frozen raspberries, like I said, are generally growing, and a lot is coming from a nearby market. Here are some of the barriers to trade. The first is tariffs. There is a 30% base tariff on frozen raspberries to a lot of markets. Some markets are exempt from that. So Australia, Canada, China, and Egypt, they have trade agreements in place where they don't have to submit to those tariffs. But for a market like US, we would. So that is one barrier that we would need to work to overcome. Additionally, there are no accepted MRL or labels for use for any SWD control chemicals. So they're very strict about MRLs, and that's something that we would need to navigate if we were to import into Vietnam. They also require a higher level of certificates and permits. So fruit exported from the US is required to have phytosanitary certificates and import permits, which just adds a bit of an administrative layer that is not insurmountable, but is sort of adds a barrier. And then there is a possibility for quarantine. There is a requirement in Vietnam that all fruit exported from the US has to be certified to have come from an area free of Serratitis capitata. So that's just, again, another administrative layer that would need to be overcome. So that is the whistle-stop tour of the findings from the EMP grant and what the opportunities are in Vietnam. Now, the next step for us is to understand from you all, is there an interest for us to continue to pursue opportunities in Vietnam? And if we are collectively as a group interested in moving that forward, then we can have a next step conversation with USDA, with WSDA about how do we take steps to navigate some of these barriers. So this is where I promised I would ask you for your support here. So I'm going to put this QR code up for a second. I would ask that you all please pull out your phones, grab this QR code. It's 4 questions. It should take you just a few minutes to answer. We just want to collect as many of your responses as possible on what you believe to be the opportunity is for Vietnam, and if it's something that we should move forward with considering. So I'll just leave this up for a second while you all grab those QR codes. The URL is at the bottom if the QR code doesn't work. All right, everyone got it? Okay, that's the end of the marketing section. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, I will hand it over to Brad for advocacy.
All right, thanks, Carrie. So this, for those of you that were here last year, this framework looks very similar. This has been a plan we've been on for a while. Obviously, we're advocating for our industry. We're trying to protect what we do here in the summer and all year long, and providing jobs for employees and great products for those in the U.S. and beyond. It isn't quite as easy as it used to be, so that's why we spend time in this format. In looking at awareness, mitigating regulatory burdens, ensure imports adhere to domestic food safety. This is, I won't go through all of those, but those are key points that we look at. For those of you that have been in the industry a long time, advocacy has been something that we've been dealing with since the mid '80s. In fact, one of the next slide talks about our firm in DC, and we've had that firm 30 years, same firm. So this is something that is always top of our list. But the 10-year plan keeps us organized. It keeps us reviewing those lists and bullet points. So fair trade is definitely something. King and Spalding is the name of the firm that I was referring to a second ago, and their office is about 2 blocks from the White House. You can imagine what they cost per hour. They're good at what they do. They're probably one of the best firms in the United States. And we've been dealing with them for 30 years. Different lawyers, of course, but we just checked in with them the other day, because obviously there's some changes going on in DC, and we want to be in front of that. We also know that the conversation about tariffs is something that is front and center. So what does that look like? They have people that can monitor those import reports and give us some recommendations. I think that the other, we talked about it in our last meeting too, is getting more of a presence in DC. Something the board's going to talk more about, more lobbying there. We're not sure quite what that looks like. There's a few of us that make a trip there once in a while, maybe once a year. It's probably not quite enough. And there might be an opportunity over these next 4 years to make some interesting inroads. So I think that's something at the board level that's going to come up. Who could we find? Is there a firm there? So those will be questions we'll be asking. I just want to bring that up because I think some of you may be already thinking about what could we do to protect our industry more. I mean, for those of you that know what we do, we're tucked up here in the corner of the U.S., and not a lot of people know we're here. That's one thing that Carrie and her team makes. We want to change that, but we also, there's not a lot of people in even in Bellingham that know what we do. So we have to build this bridge ourselves. We have to build these relationships ourselves, and that's what some of the money that we bring in. We'll be going through the budget in a second. That's that's what it goes for. So just rest on that. The water adjudication that ecology is putting in front of us. It's an unfortunate situation. It's obviously sunny out there today, but we've had a ridiculous amount of rain in the last 6 weeks, and one would think that this wouldn't be an issue, but it is. And it's an issue for raspberries. They have to be watered a lot. So we obviously are very close to what Whatcom Family Farmers does. I would encourage you guys to support Whatcom Family Farmers. The Raspberry Commission does with some of your dollars, but I encourage you to write your own checks as well, because they're out there fighting for the industries in the county. Also, Ag Water Board, which I'm not going to get into details about how all that works, but your dollars, some of your property tax dollars go into that as well. And that is protecting. Ag Water Board will work to advocate and support agriculture in the county. So what, like you're asking, what can the commission do? Well, we can back those groups. All of us, I sit on a couple of those boards, other guys do as well. And we're going to stay front and center on that. And as a group, with monies that come in and pooled like this, we can make recommendations. And if you guys have any ideas for the board, happy to have those. So it's not just us 5 board members making those decisions and those thoughts. So if you guys have anything around water or other, please contact one of us. And that kind of leans into the next point about strategic alliances. AFI, Ag Water Board, the lobbying firm, American Frozen Food Institute, AFI has been a great partner. They were a few years ago when we were having issues with testing going on our berries, and that was a stressful time. And AFI stepped up with, I don't know how many PhDs they have on staff, but a lot more than we do at the Raspberry Commission or any of us do in our operations. And there were 2 key people there that were available weekends, evenings, and really did a nice job. And we've been supporting them financially on certain projects, and we will continue to do that. So, yeah, and you'll see that appearing in our budget too, because we've been talking about what can we do. So this is moving into our budget, which is something the board spends quite a bit of time on, figuring out how do we spend your dollars. Currently this is still at 2 cents. You can see how the math works. There's the 24 budget, and that's what we're projected to spend. We're spending less than our budget. I'm not going to go through every line item. You guys can see them there. If you have questions, you can ask me later. I will go through the 25, but you can see there's a reserve. We're building the reserve because we didn't spend all of our budget from 24. So that's going to be put in our savings for different options down the road. So looking at the 25, I mean, everything, there's a few changes there. Things line up very similarly. We continue to support plant breeding, crop protection, which Andy just went over. Marketing on the wild hive side, little bump there to handle some extra costs. Local promotion, what Stacy does here with the Raspberry Festival and the reader board she's going to get for us on I-5 that talks about the industry. Anyway, that's a whole side note, but look for that, by the way. So Costco promotion is something we've been working on, a lot of IQF, and I know everybody in here doesn't do IQF, individually quick frozen. A lot of that makes it into the Costco triple berry. So keep buying it, by the way, shameless plug there, but also it's important for that item to continue to move because it pulls volume through that if it wasn't in IQF would end up in other markets, in other pack styles, I should say. So we've been working on that one. You can see food safety still has a line item there, a little bit less than it did before, but we're keeping it there. Joan uses some of that for her work. AFI, we've got a $10,000 line item budget. Strategic planning, fair trade, so you can kind of see how that all trickles down and adds in. Administration we bumped that up a bit for the cost this year with Henry's departure and the search that we're going to have to do. So that's how it ends up at the 1.1, which aligns with our pounds and at 2 cents. So that's, I would encourage, if you have any questions, you could definitely raise your hand now. Otherwise, tackle me later and we can run through some more numbers. So now I think we're going to play a video. We're moving on to the Industry Service Award. So there's going to be a video, and then I think Rolf is going to come up and talk for a minute. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so come springtime, we're gonna just knock off the tops here about that height. Should have my clippers with me, but I don't. But anyway, that's what we're gonna be doing. I love growing fruit, whether it's raspberries, blueberries, anything. Just to see it produced and get it off the vine into your plant, into your mouth, just such a joy. And all my kids, everybody, family loves raspberries and blueberries. Well, my mom and dad and myself, we came to Canada in 1959, and we lived in North Vancouver for 10 years. And I used to come out on the farms in the summers and work on the berry farm, stay in the cabins there. Then in 1969, my dad came out and we bought 12 acres on Bradner Road in Abbotsford. And in 1972, we had a chance to buy more land. And my dad quit his job in the mill and I quit my school. And we went at it from there. The journey started right there. Oh, my dad, I tell you, he worked so hard. He was always in the field with the labor. And he had the vision for us to expand down here, then in the cranberry business. But he was so hardworking. Just when he first came to Canada, he couldn't get a job for a lot of years. And actually, he had to shave his head to get any kind of jobs. And then when we got back into the raspberry business back in Canada after a few years, then he grew his hair and put on his turban again. Well, I was in India over the winter, and I come back and my dad says, "Hey, I just bought 130 acres on Halverstick Road." He'd come down here. He met Carl Vanderplu and Jean de Vries. And so they sold him our first farms up on Halverstick Road. And we have raspberries and blueberries here in the US. We also, in 1992, planted about 40 acres of cranberries. My dad, that's another one of his pet projects. And but anyways, that was a thing that we did for about 10 years. And then we just decided to go the other way and start into blueberries. Well, in 1984, we started Clearbrook Packers, mainly to process our raspberries, my partner, Cher Brach and I. And we had that plant for 25 years. Then we sold it in 2006. And we were down here. And then I think Rolf and Mo and myself, we got together and started up Northwest Berry Packers. I had a lot of experience in sales and stuff because I'd been handling all that up in Canada. So we went from there, and I think it's been a big success. and something that the industry needed at the time. All my kids have worked on the farm and the processing plant. My son has continued into farming. He also just comes and handles all the harvest on the Canadian side in the summers. And without him, it's hard to manage that side of the harvest time, especially because I'm usually down here with Pablo. Well, what can you say about Pablo? He's such a wonderful person, first of all. You know, he'll help anybody. He joined us around 1990 and just stayed with us. And without him, we wouldn't be where we are today. I mean, he's like my other son. Another person that's very important to our farming is my wife, who's a CPA. And we've been married for 50 years. And she's been right through the struggle with us, ups and downs, good times, bad times, but we're made it through, and now we're enjoying our retirement, semi-retirement, because she wants me to take more time, but I still, when I'm around here, I want to be on the farm. So now we've got 6 grandkids, and my oldest 2 grandkids, actually one is in Canada driving the machine. The other one moves around here, there, and just helps out on the farm with me. And the other ones, it'll be a while before the younger ones get there, but they're anxious.
Sorry, everyone. I don't know what's happening with this lovely video. Yeah, we're just gonna try and grab it from a different source so we can watch the rest. Yeah, I think for you, sorry. Yeah.
So it's that second to the last, second to the bottom, there, right there. We do want to see the ending to this thing after all. Yeah.
Yeah, so come springtime, we're gonna just knock off the tops here, about that height. Should happen is my wife, who's a CPA, and kids, actually one is in Canada driving the machine. The other one moves around here, there, and just helps out on the farm with me. And the other ones, it'll be a while before the younger ones get there, but they're anxious. They're anxious. I love growing raspberries. I love growing blueberries. Nothing gives me more joy than every day. When I'm around here, I'm away a lot nowadays. Pablo handles everything here. I love driving through the fields every day, whether it's the start of the spring or pruning time, harvest time. I'm here all the time. And it's just something that you can't, it's a passion. I don't know what I'd do without it. I met Raj about 35 years ago. We both bought Fendt tractors, some farmers equipment, and we ended up going to Europe together. Didn't know him, and he turned out to be my roommate there. We've been friends pretty much ever since. He's a good guy, and we've enjoyed our time together. We golfed and traveled and done a lot of things together, but mostly we've grown raspberries together. He was with us when we got big, and then we got small, and then we got big again. But he's always stayed pretty constant in the raspberry business.
Raj's been involved in the raspberry industry for a long time on both sides of the border. He's always been an excellent grower and an outstanding businessman. I understand that raspberry business is interfering with your golf game, and let's hope that you get on the senior circuit. And once again, thanks.
I've known Raj Bath for close to 40 years, and we've worked with him. We've delivered fruit here. I've bought fruit from him. We've been in business together. he's been a great farmer to work with. I know he was one of the original farmers that came out of Canada, and he's brought a lot of innovation and a lot of new stuff as a pretty aggressive farmer. So he's done a lot of good things for us as an industry and for a lot of the community itself. So we've appreciated having him for all these years, what he's done for us as an industry, but also as a community member.
One thing about Raj, what was always interesting, I've known him for 30, 35 years as being his consultant and as a friend. He had so much to bring to the table that I think I learned more from him than he ever learned from me. So I really cherish that. And one thing I took to heart when I told him I was retiring, he said, well, do everything you like to do it as often as you can, and do it as long as you can. And hence, that's why we're here in Africa today, doing some traveling. A piece of advice from Raj I took to heart. So, Raj, congratulations. Well-deserved reward.
I'm 73 right now, so everybody said, when are you going to retire? But I can't. I just told my family the other day, I think I'm going to keep on going for another 5 years or so, and then we'll decide what we're going to do. And then who knows, there might be another 5 after that. So. And on raspberries and any fruit, you're always learning. I mean, even right now, we're learning, you know. There's not a day that, you know, I'm talking to somebody, our friends in the farming business, and we learn and we give back by helping others if they want the help. Yeah, that's part of the cycle. Part of the cycle.
So Raj isn't here. He's golfing today. I, I think that's appropriate. But Raj and I, like I said, on the film, we actually met like a week before we headed off to Europe, and he was my roommate, and we traveled. He and I, Mike McCara and Mike McCara's wife, I had never been anywhere. You're looking at a hick from the sticks. I still am, but then I really was. And they took me, and we started off in Germany. We went to Holland. We went to France. We went to Liechtenstein. We went to, I don't know. We just, they got a car, and we got on the Autobahn, and it was pedal to the metal for the whole time. We'd had a great time. And after we came back from that, he and I would have lunch or see each other quite often while we were farming. And then in 2007, we started the co-op. And he was the president of the co-op for 10, 12 years, I think, and really helped make it what it was. We didn't know what we were doing when we got started, and he came along. He had some experience of processing, and yeah, it worked out really good. I think for the raspberry industry, I think the co-op, when we did it in 2007, that was a huge thing that turned around the industry for a lot of years. Now we need to find that next thing that's going to help us. But anyway, Raj's son and his daughter are here. And why don't you guys come up in front? We'll just meet in front. And yeah, and Pablo. Pablo's here. Everybody knows Pablo. Come on, Pablo. So, is it on? Yes. If you want to say anything,
Yeah.
just tell your dad to come up and show up for work.
Yeah, right.
Well, as John said and Rolf mentioned, he loves golf. He loves to travel, but his number one love is the berries for sure. And whenever it's an important time in the season, whether it's harvest or spring or fall, he's here and he's on the farm and he loves it, and that's where he wants to be, and that's where he'll always be. So 5-10 years, he said he might retire. He'll never retire ever, but that's what he loves to do. So on his behalf, we thank you all for this award.
So I don't know how we do.
Yeah, it's I have a good time. I love farming too. I wanted to say that tractor at the beginning of the video, we still have it, and the harvester. And this both, I'm not sure of the harvester, but the tractor runs, you know, it's a massive figure.
All right, so yeah, you can send him a video or something of what's going on, but I'd probably be playing golf with him, but I wouldn't want to beat him today. So we know that's not the truth, but anyway, congratulations and thank your dad for doing what he's done for the raspberry industry.
Thank you all. Back to where we were. Back to, oh, there we are. I did. More capable than I thought. All right, this has been a great treat. You can see all the people that have had it already, and this is adding Raj to it has been great. Keep looking for, no, very good. This is it. I think aside from this is, we got some time for questions that we will direct to the people, the board members, others. You have some questions, this is the time to ask, or else we can disperse after a little bit and be able to just round them one-on-one, whatever you'd like. But this is the time to open it up. We want to make sure this this commission represents your industry well and takes it into the future. So that's our goal. We've been at it for a while and we can always improve. So questions, anybody? Well, I do want to catch one more thing. There's Stacy in the back corner over there. Stacy runs the office here. She's starting to run more and more things in our office. She runs this event. So thank you, Stacy, for all the work that you do on behalf of this industry as well. All right. If there's no question, just corral people. You know where they are. Mark, Brad, Andy. I don't know, Matt's here. John is a busy coaching basketball again. He always coaches kids basketball to get out of this somehow. So, but good. Thank you for coming.